I've always maintained, we all have to be blamed that for the fact that I think that any revenue stream proposed is not 100% or seized. Obviously, you were pushing a tight economy. It's a growing economy. So clearly, we should be looking at the expenditure side, not only the revenue side. We've all made the argument that until we expand the revenue, tax to revenue has been extremely low. That's why some of us were looking at avenues to increase our tax to revenue. It's one of the things that all the agencies, rating agencies look. You can't be doing tax to revenue lower than your peers in a sub-region.
But I disagree with that.
I'm coming.
And I'll prove to you it's not true.
Those who say that government is just fixated on revenue. It's not expenditure.
No.
And that it is the people who say that if expenditure, government learns to cut its expenditure, it will not, because I find, just a minute, I find people who say that they even find it embarrassing that a taxation to production government will be heaping taxes upon taxes upon taxes upon taxes upon taxes on the people.
I've always maintained, I'm coming.
If we had agreed on the e-levy from the onset, we would not have gone to the IMF and would not have been saddled with all these issues.
Oh, if you listen to the independent experts, the truth is that it's far from the case. And you say, go back to 2021. Don't look at 2022. 2021, we're told to pay COVID levy. We're paid to pay sanitation levy. We're made to pay, like I said, COVID recovery levy. Then they said, oh, the energy sector has some debt. We should pay energy sector recovery levy. Then they said, because of financial sector, we pay financial sector levy. The Minister of Finance told us that when we paid all this, we won't go to IMF. We did that. So it's not like it's a new development. We paid all these taxes that I've enumerated. Then he came again and said, oh, e-levy is the solution. If you pay e-levy, it will solve the problem. Firstly, there's something you call a tax threshold. In taxation, when you tax beyond a certain threshold, you don't even get the revenues. And I recall that Haruna proposed that, look, for the sake of compromise, why don't we even do 1%? So that would observe it. The finance minister rejected it. And lo and behold, even after implementation of e-levy, the revenues were not just coming. And I think that they did a wrong computation, because they assume that if the money is moving through the value chain, you will just be taxing it that way. It's normally not the case. You normally don't get that. So it failed. But I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that e-levy wouldn't have resolved the challenge that we're facing. Because if you look at the enormity of the challenge, the currency was just not holding. And when your currency is not holding, no matter the domestic revenue you raise, you would only be chasing that few currency. And it's normally a structural issue. So clearly, the problem couldn't have been e-levy. This, taking into account that they made a revenue target. Because it's a revenue basket you are looking for. If you look at the 2023 budget, and I have the provisional figures here. 2023 revised budget, 108 billion. 2023 projected 107 billion. So the revenue target has been met, with or without e-levy. So e-levy couldn't have been the reason. The revenue targets were met. The problem is that, look, we had borrowed through the roofs. It was unsustainable. And the truth is that, look, we should learn from this and stop blaming e-levy.
So we must see this as collective. I like that conversation. What are we doing to curtail or check our expenditure? It hasn't been free for all. We all know where we're coming from, where the combined effect of your revenue against your expenditure. When the expenditure was going up, your revenue was coming down. We knew how these things affect our revenue mobilization.
I'll tell you why it's not true.
These are things that we have to, even if you are doing same as your peers and all that. I still think that you have opportunity to expand your tax net, not necessarily looking at the same direction that your tax revenue is coming from. You must look at other revenue streams to be able to mobilize revenue for your country. Not only mobilization, but then you have to look at the expenditure, control expenditure, and then make investment that will bring or yield resource, as it were. So I think that as a country, over time, we've been consistent in going to the euro market to show up our capital that are not exposed us so much. But when those opportunities were blocked, obviously your back is exposed. And I think that if you look at the document prepared to the IMF and then giving us the first tranche and all that, there are timelines, there are conditions already attached to it. These external debt exchange details, I'm not privy to speak to it because of the terms, the cutoff points, the conditionalities, as I said, that is going to come. I mean, nobody will give you his money expecting returns on a particular date. The moment you shift the date, obviously it comes with a cost. That's where the negotiations are. And if you have been assured by the finance minister that good times, it won't be as bad as people are speculating. But for some naysayers, obviously, they wish that this country collapse to take over the helm of affairs.
Unfortunately,
yes,
the finance minister doesn't appear to be the person whose assurances.
I hope that can be relied upon. I hope that is not. No, but I mean, it's not coming from him alone. You read the response from the IMF boss.
That's for them there.
No, but they are the people you are dealing with, and of course there are institutional creditors that are equally important, like he said.
So, Sly, let me ask you this.
So,
if under the IMF program, we have adopted this quarterly review of electricity rates,
tariffs,
and in the last 1 year or so, over 1 year, we have had all these increases. I think it was just the last quarter
it came down
that we had that 4% or something decrease, and I could tell why that happened. Now, I can tell why that happened. We seriously believe that the application of VAT on domestic usage minus Lifeline, and mind you, this same, your government has reviewed Lifeline from 1 to 50 to 1 to 30. And I'm told that the 1 to 50 category, the 31 to the 50 constitutes the majority. Such that if you reduce the Lifeline, so maybe 1 to 50 could be 1.7 million consumers. But immediately you change it, the 31 to the 50 could even constitute about 60 or 65%.
I mean, are you speaking to specifics or you are speaking to...
No, to specifics.
No, I just want to say that their stance against it. I mean, you've had leading members of the NDC who said by virtue of that e-levy, they will stop using... they've said transactions that will affect. And I think that their position against it itself is not healthy. And it hasn't helped anybody at all. If a revenue is missed, a pesewa is missed by virtue of your actions, then you are not patriotic enough. And I think that in a nutshell, we all have to be blamed that for the fact that I think that any revenue stream proposed is not 100% proof that you are going to get this. It's an expectation.
What do you say to those who say that government is just fixated on revenue? It's not like an expenditure. And that it is the people who say that if expenditure, government learns to cut its expenditure, it will not, because I find, just a minute, I find people who say that they even find it embarrassing.
Project to end with 25. So the real saving is 2 billion. From the domestic. Is the external.
Yes.
Which is moving from 17, will be ending 9 billion. You know why? Because we've decided we won't pay. So if you strike the 17 billion, the 9 billion, then it tells you that the 17 minus 9, the difference, 8 billion, is what we've decided we wouldn't pay in terms of debt servicing. So it's very difficult.
No, but JJ, one would agree with me. I mean, it's truthfully, like I said, it's not a good thing for anybody. And these are accumulations over time. I mean, we must all be mindful that this debt we are talking about are not debt accumulated overnight. There are some obligations that we inherited. Even John Mahama inherited some debt obligations from. I mean, there are projects that the NDC laid claims to. Drawdown came under the, it was things that started from NPP. The drawdown came under their regime. There are some we inherited. debt that the drawdown came during President Akufo-Addo's term and all that. So we must see this as collective. I like that conversation.